They said you were the best in the Parsec.
Welcome to Parsec Passion,
a podcast about Disney Plus Star Wars TV shows. This week, we're talking about The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3, The Convert.
Also known as Bo-Katan Gets Religion.
The episode description is on Coruscant, former Imperials find amnesty in the New Republic. My name's Bubba. With me, as always, is Catfish, and we have a special guest this week. That's right. It's Dr. Pershing's latest clone. It's Double M Matt Murdock. How you doing, Matt?
I'm great. You can call me podcaster P.5 because I'm half the podcaster of either of you. And that I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. When you're on their third episode, you should just add a new podcaster for each episode. When you get to 4, have 4 of us. When you get to 5, have 5 of us. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Guys, this is a very unique episode. We spent so much time away from Mando. It was like we were watching the Book of Boba Fett. No, the Book of Dr. Pershing. Let's get to our ratings out of 10. And normally, I'm a gracious guy, and I ask Catfish for his rating first, or I ask Matt for his rating first. To hell with that. I'm going first today.
I love it.
I'm never gracious. What is my rating out of 10? I'm going to give this 9 double A's out of 10.
Well, oh, yeah. Double A's. Wait, double A's?
Double A's stands for Andor Adjacent. This show went to Coruscant, just like Andor does, and it followed some political intrigue on Coruscant, just like Andor does. It may not have been as successful, but I watched this episode and I loved it. I was in the bank for it. I kind of want to rate it even higher than 9 out of 10. I loved it so much. Normally, when we record these podcasts, I don't talk to Catfish about his feeling. I don't talk to anybody. I don't try to look up anybody else's thoughts. But after this episode, man, I loved it so much. I was like, what's everybody else think? And the first person I looked at, they were like, yeah, I kind of had problems with it. And I was like, oh, forget them. And I went to the second person. They were like, yeah, this kind of stunk. And I was like, oh my God. And then I went to the third person and they're like, yeah, it was real good except for all the problematic areas. And I'm like, what? So maybe I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Maybe I'm out in Kavala getting bombed by TIE fighters. But I loved this episode. I thought it was intriguing. I don't love Dr. Pershing as a character. I don't care about B-52 or L-52 or any of them. But the idea of it, what is the galaxy like after the Empire? I was fascinated by that. 9 out of 10. I can't wait to sing its praises or listen to people who didn't enjoy it as much. So, Catfish, I'm going to come to you next. What is your rating for The Convert?
Well, Bubba, I had to give this 2 separate ratings.
Wait. One, that's more than one.
Yes, because on the previously on, we got to see our old buddy, the client. We missed him for so long. So for the previously on, I give that 10 out of 10, what I call triple C's.
Wait, triple C's?
Yeah, cherished client comebacks. We miss him so much. He's cherished in our lives. The name of the podcast is always spoken in something approximating his accent. And so we love him. For the episode itself, though, I only gave that 8, what I like to call triple B's.
Wait, triple B's?
Yeah, triple B's is when you're like in a spy story and there's like a Mata Hari type and she's using a honeypot, but she's really what I like to call a biscuit baiting babe. And that's what she was in this one. She was pulling them into her spiderweb trap with the biscuits. I loved how it started off with a laugh line. Mando comes right out with I am redeemed. And we're like, yeah, okay, that's one way to put it. You're redeemed.
I'm resuscitated.
Yeah, nearly drowned. CPR used on him. I was really interested in the professor and this storyline and him, but they used it as sort of a larger sense to sort of, as you said, show what's going on. Whereas I thought would have been helpful to this show would have been to see another something that sort of they're setting up for the whole season. So they may be setting her up for the whole season, but he was the guy and he had some interesting thoughts. And in the end, he did get just horribly, horribly duped. So for that, for like leading me down, like, oh, we're going to get we're going to get some different stuff this season. And they cut it off, and they may use it, but they spend a lot of story time on this one guy. So for that's why I gave it 8 out of 10. Bubba, and I want to give, we've talked about this helmet on, helmet off for so long. And this week, Bo-Katan came onto the helmet on side. She was helmet on from the beginning of the episode till the very end of the episode. Now, at one point, Mando did say, keep your helmet on, but I just heard no sense from her that she was going to take it off the entire time. So she may be, as we talked about last week, she may be reinvigorated from the cause, having seen the mythosaur and believing in what's going on. But regardless of whether you're helmet on or helmet off, Bubba, we just talked about at the Oscars that I was nearly impregnated by Pedro Pascal. But what definitely happened was that I got COVID. So folks, helmet off or helmet on, please remember, mask on. That's all I have to say.
Wow. Okay, I went 9 out of 10. Catfish went 8 out of 10. Let's go to our guest this week, Double M Matt Murdock. What did you give The Convert?
Well, I hate to be the one to spoil this party because I hate rating anything below a 7. I can never do it.
No.
But I only gave this one 7.7 out of 10, what I like to call triple Ds.
Triple Ds?
Yeah, dramatic din dives. This guy dives out of Bo-Katan's ship. He dives with his own ship. All he does is dive, dive, dive. And I thought that stuff, all of the Din stuff, all of the Bo-Katan stuff, on the ends were perfect. I loved the story in the middle. You know that saying, don't hate the player, hate the game? Well, I guess I'm doing that in a way, except I'm doing it from the opposite end. I'm hating the player because of the game, because it was clear to me they are setting up yet another season of Moff Gideon. They don't know where he is. They don't know what's going on with him. All these conflicting rumors. And all you end up with is one of his officers being nefarious in the end, which means he's coming back. And I'm like, if Favreau is saying we're in a middle season of The Mandalorian, then can't we take a middle season and give us a new big bad guy? I'm just kind of frustrated with the game. And so that made me take away from the player a lot this time around. Probably the wrong attitude, but that's the way that I go.
Man, you were talking so much about hating the players in the game. It was like I was talking to Aaron Rodgers. Wow.
Hey, well, when you get me the wide receiving crew that I need, then I'll be happy to be nicer.
No. Those are the guys he hates. The guys on his team.
We told you what we think, but we love to say, who cares what we think? We want to know what you think. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, iHeartRadio, Catfish's favorite, go ahead and reach out to us at PHQ on Twitter, Instagram, Hive, Facebook.com/PHQ. If you're watching this on YouTube, go down in the comments. Tell us what you thought. This episode had a bunch of reactions. They're all correct. Mine the most correct. And so we want to hear yours, which is the second most correct that you have. Guys, before we talk about this episode and dive in deep, like we're Din Djarin, we do want to talk a couple things about news. And it just came out this week. You can never really trust ratings on streaming services, but this one firm that looks at this, it believes that The Mandalorian Season 3 premiere viewership drew 1.5 million United States views in its first 4 days. Now, 1.5 million in 4 days sounds great, but what this research firm said was that, well, it believes Obi-Wan Kenobi had 2.8 million views in its first 4 days. Now, Obi-Wan did release the first 2 episodes at once, so that gives it more time to be viewed. So do you guys have any thoughts about the Mando returning maybe not as big as some other Star Wars TV shows? I'll go to you first, Catfish. Any thoughts about why the Mando might be coming in a little lower than usual?
I am really surprised. I actually had seen something similar that just said that their numbers coming back weren't as big as Obi-Wan, and I just wasn't aware if that was lower than previous episodes of The Mandalorian. I'm a little surprised. This is their big hit with Grogu. I mean, they really They really didn't give us much Grogu tonight. Also, that's a negative. I'm surprised. I would have expected this would have been their best one, especially because the only reason the Book of Boba Fett was good was because it turned into The Mandalorian.
How about you, Matt? Any thoughts on ratings or once again, I'm not sure how much we could trust these research firms. They don't really have the numbers, and Disney doesn't release real Disney Plus numbers. Any thoughts on this report that the premiere might have been lower than certainly Obi-Wan Kenobi's premiere?
Well, I really wish that Disney was more like HBO, because anytime that they do well with a streamer, then they tell you immediately themselves.
Oh, yeah.
However, I just wonder if this just isn't a little bit of streaming fatigue, some of the country coming back to normal, Catfish being an exception to that. And I feel like people aren't streaming things on the first 4 days. I mean, they're not getting around to a Saturday or a Sunday night. Maybe they're not, whatever. But also probably a little bit of Star Wars fatigue.
Listeners, what do you think? Have you noticed? I just noticed on social media, even the buzz is a little lower than it would be. 1.5 million is still really good, and they are going to sell so much Grogu merchandise, there won't be any trouble. But let us know what you think. Yeah. Let us know what you think. The final thing I want to talk about, and maybe I missed this on previous days, but when I logged in to watch The Mandalorian on Disney Plus here in the United States, suddenly there was a message on the page that said, enjoy special access to select merchandise. Visit the shop tab in Disney Plus. There's a, here are the episodes. Here's the extra content. Here's other things you might like suggested. And then there's a shop tab with a QR code that says, scan this code and you can get Mando merch. They are selling Grogu like there's no tomorrow. So
and the only way it would be better if they were like Amazon, where Amazon is just like, you can just order it straight off of here from your Amazon account.
Heck yeah. Listeners, are you going to buy any more Grogu merchandise than you already have? Do you need a action figure of Ugnulty Quill from season 1? Go and let us know what you think. Let's dive into this episode, or more importantly, let's come up for air like the beginning of this episode.
Yeah.
We're at the living waters. Bo-Katan is staring at the waters. Mando, I am redeemed. Bo-Katan, I witnessed this. You bathed in the living waters. And I thought to myself, bathed? You sank in the you died in the living waters.
He plummeted. And as I said, I found it very interesting here. While he was passed out, she put her helmet on and never takes it off this entire episode. She does have, we had wondered last week why it was like, are you surprised, or why this even happened, that she wasn't like, watch out for the last step. She thinks that the bombings opened up kind of the deeper chasm, just like infamously in Piranha 3D, opened up for the piranhas. So that makes a lot of sense that an area is exposed that wasn't before, and explains why she allowed him to go in without warning him, and also why she saw something that no one had seen for a long time.
Matt, one of the things that Catfish and I talked about on last week's podcast is, if you're Bo-Katan and you saw the mythosaur, do you tell anybody, or would you keep it a secret because you want to be the one to tame it? Bo-Katan, sure enough, she asked, hey, Mando, did you see anything? And then when he hadn't seen anything, she doesn't tell the truth. She keeps that information to herself. What do you think Bo-Katan's motive is here, Matt?
I think she's just parsing it out for herself, guys. I mean, what I witnessed over last week's episode and this week's episode is that she is the convert, right? She is the one who is starting to believe in all of this stuff. She's now seen the mythosaur. She's giving, even if she were at home, if she'd have gotten home before it got blown up this episode, then I don't know if she would have taken her helmet off then or not. Maybe she would have, but I don't think she's taken it off around Den. She was moved by his little repledging of the oath and everything. I think it made her rethink about her attitudes about that whole situation, where last week it was about, as they were going there, it was about her issues with her dad and her sister. And this week it's about, okay, the issues with herself. I think she was genuinely turned before she ever saw that mythosaur. That's the expression I got off Katie Sackhoff's face anyway. So I love the fact
she was wearing a mask the whole time. Well,
yeah.
You mean last week. I know what you mean.
Yeah, last week. And this time around, I think that, her denial of it is, admittedly, she doesn't want anybody to think she's a loony yet. So she just decided to keep that to herself. But I don't think that makes her think any differently about what she saw, especially at the end shot of this episode where she's looking at that symbol of the Mandalore, the mask of the mythosaur that's on the wall there. To me, that says it all.
That was one of 2 times when she made a very moving and meaningful look at something that we were unable to see any expression because she was wearing the mask. This has been my whole mask on, mask off thing, is that at least we have seen her reaction before, but there was this and there was one other time where she had a reaction to something where it was just like a dead stare, and I'm like, I think it was
her
maybe
house
when
got blown up. Yeah,
I think it was probably when her house got blown up.
Yeah,
I just assumed she wasn't smiling.
I think the music tells you more than you allow it to, Catfish.
I don't know. She could have been smiling, thinking, I just re-upped the insurance on that place. This is perfect. Now, Catfish, you have a great note here. So Bo-Katan, Mando, Grogu, R5, they're all back in her ship, and they're flying back to her castle. And you noted something right before the big bam, bam. What did you notice?
Yeah, we saw Grogu send something, like an earthquake sniffing dog or something, and he gives a little couple gurgles, but he doesn't have enough time to explain exactly what's going on, and so therefore they can't really react to it. But Grogu, he senses a disturbance in the Force, and you know what happens when Grogu senses a disturbance? It's pod helmet on.
I just thought that he was trying to say this is the way, along with the rest of them, and trying to be.
No, he senses trouble, and it's every man for himself, and he closes himself up. Now, what did you guys think about this dogfight? Once again, I was 9 out of 10. Matt, you said you loved this beginning part of it. This is pretty awesome. This is what we come to Star Wars for, is some of these silly thrills, and I thought this dogfight between all these TIE interceptors and Bo-Katan ship, and then later Din in the N1 Naboo starfighter, I thought it was great.
The effects are magnificent. Everything that they do, and I'm not just talking about just seeing the shots, because we've been able to do that for years. I'm assuming that they shoot some of this stuff within a little mini cockpit set on the volume as well.
Yeah.
And just the motion of everything on the outside that you can see through the windows as like Bo-Katan's flying through the cliffs and all of this stuff. It is so fantastic to see all of that stuff.
Catfish, what did you think of Din Djarin, our hero Mando, during this fight? Well, first of all, I thought that this whole part of this episode, right up until we get the, this whole what we call cold open before there's the credits, was magnificent and thrilling. And I just hope that Tom Cruise doesn't come after Pedro Pascal for squatting on his territory, because Pedro's free fall out and then, barely being able to hit the brakes and then jump into his plane before he takes off. He is completely squatting in Tom Cruise territory. Hell yeah. Well, how about Bo-Katan does a little Tokyo drift on her 360 in her ship? That was awesome, man. It is so cool. And then we see everything. Oh my God. Her whole place gets blowed up. And then we see all these amazing ships. Bo makes this move, and it was either due to this move or just from pure on fainting because he's cowardly. The R5-D4 unit just falls right over, either in a faint or just he just can't control himself anymore. He's playing possum. He's like,
I love when the ship is falling. How he's not. He's there. He's like, it's like he's in an actual elevator that's plummeting.
Yeah, but at a certain point, he just can't hold his water anymore, and he goes down.
Yeah.
Well, how about this, guys?
Yeah.
A couple of questions for you. Number one, why do you think, and this is speculation corner, listeners, we want to hear your thoughts too. Mm-hmm. Any idea why the Empire or the remnants of the Empire attack Bo-Katan and blow up her castle with TIE bombers? Why what were they upset that she was brooding? Like, we'll get her out of brooding. We'll bomb her place. Why attack her? Any thoughts why that could be?
Just so that they could say the one line, that's too many ties for an Imperial warlord. That's why.
A hint at what's coming. Okay.
Yeah, they attacked her out of some kind of vengeance, and I don't know why. Could it be that Din's ship was being tracked there? I don't know.
I mean, Din did say something about this is what you get for doing too much raiding. So I don't know whether he's right and just knows. And Bo could have been like, stay out of my business. But I wonder if this will come up later. I mean, the practical effect of it is now not only is she converted to Helmet On, but now she doesn't have her own palace to mope around in. She's got to mope around near the kaiju on the cult planet.
Well, I can mope here. I can mope there. I can mope on a boat. I can mope with a goat.
I can mope with my helmet on.
Well, there you go. And then this is almost 10 minutes, and we finally get the opening credits. I love it. Hell to the and then it just goes there, baby. It goes to Coruscant. It doesn't only go to Coruscant, which we have seen in Andor. We've seen in a lot of places, but it goes to specifically the Opera House where the Anakin and Emperor Palpatine, or I guess at the time he was Supreme Chancellor Palpatine at the time, had their infamous, have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Which was behind the scenes known as Squid Lake. They go there, oh hell yes. And Dr. Pershing, I was talking to people when the trailer for season 3 came out. I was like, why is this guy not in jail? What's going on? Well, not only is he in amnesty, he gets to give a speech to a loving crowd. And he gives his backstory. My mother's heart gave out. I need organ cloning. I need to make a strand cast. Tatfish, what do you think?
I mean, as I thought there, and I thought, here we are in Coruscant, made me wonder how Cyril Karn's life would have been affected if he'd lost his mother at a young age. Would he be so focused on tailoring?
And this crowd loves him. They're eating him up. This Mon Calamari is such a toady. He's like, oh, the Outer Rim. I can't imagine. And this is like every movie that's nominated for Best Picture. It reminds us that the 1% suck in every galaxy. In our galaxy, in their galaxy, if you become a rich jerk, you're not cool, dude.
But I couldn't tell whether the Mon Calamari was the worst. I thought the guy who was in the Fez was even worse because they're like, I don't even know who it's. But I couldn't fight for anybody really. I mean, what's this kind of what? No.
All right, Matt, you've got to break the tie. Were they terrible, or were these rich lickspittles wonderful?
Oh, well, I mean, I think that they were absolutely glorious in the way that they demonstrated how everybody can be deceived by this new republic. Because at its bowels, we all know that this new republic is nothing but evil, and the client has been doing nothing but trying to eliminate, or during the course of his entire life was trying to make sure that this kind of evil never occurred. And instead, here's what you have: rich people fawning over an ex-con, which I'm sure happens quite often.
So, Dr. Pershing has got a brand new name. He's not Dr. Pershing. He's L7. Excuse me. No, he's L52. Amnesty Scientist L52. And his life really, I guess it's tough. If you always want to clone and you can't clone, it's tough. But he's given a speech to a adoring crowd. He has a limo driver who won't shut up and tells him all the sights to see.
Nor watch where he's driving.
No, right. This droid's like, I know the way. Here, let me turn around and look you in the eye when I say go to the museum. He does it all. And the one problem he has is that despite this great life, he can't clone, and he does live in amnesty housing and hang out with other former Nazis. Any thoughts about this beer pong table that we're doing these white milk shots on?
It's a little concerning to me, Bubba. I mean, they have to. It's not until later in the episode we realize they really have to use these names. They're alphanumeric designations. I mean, at least give them a different name. Even though they've quote unquote saved them, they still got to live in this community housing. They have to toe the line at all times.
Matt? What do you think about this? This is obviously trying to draw some parallels with post-World War II Europe and America and other things. Is this too cruel to these people who, quote unquote, were just following orders? Any thoughts on this group?
Bubba, I think it's
Let's hear it.
terribly egregious because you are parading around a word like amnesty, and you're not giving these people the same kind of self-respect. You're assigning them a name and a number like they're cattle to be herded wherever that you wish, to destroy whatever imperial things that you want. And this is where this talk is where I started to get really perturbed at the episode. This is where they start talking about, I heard that Moff Gideon is this, and I heard that Moff Gideon is that. And I said, really? Are we really going to go back to Moff Gideon? That's what this is. You've got two people who knew Moff Gideon, that were on Moff Gideon's ship in this group. And now we're talking about, is he there? Did he get mind flayed? Did he escape before the war tribunal? And that's where I started going, ugh, I'm not sure I want another season of Moff Gideon.
Interesting. I understand exactly where you're coming from about this is a bit of a retread of a villain. He was the main big bad of season 1 and season 2. But again, just this picture I was fascinated by of this is what it's like to these people. And they are treated rough, but on the flip side, do you just leave all the former Imperial officers in a prison?
Well, I think that's your better spot. I mean, to be honest with you, and I had read something earlier today making the parallel between this and what we did with German scientists. No, we took the German scientists and used them to help us build bombs and technology. We didn't take the German version of Pershing and make him do grunt work. We only took him because he could actually be helpful to us. So in this way, it's sort of it doesn't seem like it's really amnesty. It's more like punishment. And in the end, it does set up this situation where there's sort of fear and may lead to the kind of situations where people are throwing each other under the bus, are tempting them into something they wouldn't do by themselves in order to just get credit. It seems it's not quite on the up and up.
Okay, so let's say you've got a terrible life. You are stuck in a clerical job, even though you're a brilliant cloner, but you're given a lifeline. Mm-hmm. Some Girl Scout cookies, specifically Lorna Doones. Do those biscuits make you say, to heck with it? This isn't so bad. I mean, I'm looking at Dr. Pershing's apartment or jail, whatever you want to call it. And it was bigger than the place I lived in when I graduated college and moved to Chicago. I was in like a 550 square foot studio. And I'm looking at Dr. Pershing's place and I'm like, arrest me one time. Hell, let's go.
It's better than Cyril's place.
Well, Cyril doesn't have his mom. I mean, anything, he could be living in the tin box of yellow travel biscuits, and it's better than Cyril's place with the mom.
The other thing that's interesting is as soon as I saw that the biscuits out, I thought, oh boy, here is the first outreach from. There has to be some sort of underground situation going on here. I mean, despite the fact that the other alphanumerically named people were able to do the long live the new republic motto with more gusto than Dr. Pershing, there has to be a group of people who are not really redeemed.
Oh yeah. I never once in this episode thought G68 was redeemed. I thought this character, and we'll learn her name in a bit, but I thought this character is evil. And let's get to it. So, we keep talking about Cyril Karn, our hero from the Andor show, and Dr. Pershing has ended up in Cyril's world. It's almost like he's sitting in the exact same low-level cube that Cyril ended up with. He's given these discs. This is a little Easter egg, a million Easter eggs for Star Wars fans. These discs that he's theoretically destroying, these codes and this technological advancement. That's the exact same type of disc that the Death Star plans were on in Rogue One that later got into R2-D2. So fun to see. And
I love that is essentially boss or whoever's handing him the stuff really just rubs it in like, gosh, you're such I saw your thing. What a brilliant scientist you are. Why do they have you doing this crap old job? Well, I guess they know what they're doing. All right, here you go.
Right, man, you are so great, so great. Yeah, when you're done with that, can you reformat the hard drive for me? Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Somebody peed on the floor in the bathroom. Can you get that?
Now, G68, the tempting snake in this scenario, takes him out for some nightlife on Coruscant. And this is another deep cut. Ralph McQuarrie, the original artist and concept designer on the Star Wars films. Return of the Jedi, at the time called Revenge of the Jedi, but Return of the Jedi, which was, as we all remember, came out in 83. In the original plot of that film, it wasn't set on Endor with the Ewoks. It was set on Coruscant, the capital of the planet, or the capital of the galaxy, excuse me. And so McQuarrie made all these paintings of, well, this is what the capital of the galaxy would look like. And sure enough, they use that look in this episode. They go to this wonderful night place that McQuarrie drew probably in 81 or 82. This is incredible. And, for a story's sake, it's Dr. Pershing once again getting tested. Ooh, here, have a nice popsicle. This will be good for you. Ooh, try to touch.
This is the non-melty popsicles.
Right, exactly. Ooh, the everlasting gobstopper of popsicles. Ooh, try to touch the rock, the only part of this planet which you can actually see, which hasn't been covered up by city. And once again, he's being tempted. He's being tempted. We thought we were doing good. We were so close to incredible breakthroughs. And then G68 really gets him with following orders blindly is how we got into trouble in the first place.
But then she says, there's a lot of people who want to help. And then just to make it clear, then she says, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get it?
Want to touch it? I mean, this is tempting. Matt, you want to get in here on this part of the episode you didn't like because it's about Moff Gideon?
No, I think that this part from here on out, I was fine. Actually, I'm all good with it. It's just that little bit spoiled the whole thing for me.
All right.
I love the music of Coruscant. There's an I didn't talk about it in the musical analysis, but there's actually a theme for that place that we heard this episode twice in this episode, and I loved that. It's deserving of a theme, and so I'm glad that I don't know if Ludwig had penned it before or if it was Joe Shirley, but it was a wonderful theme. So nice and major too, which was indication of the happy new republic, which is not really there.
Pershing's life is kind of a drone of a life. He's got a parole officer, and he's like, hey, any chance that I could do the things I want to do? Oh, that's clone evil strand cast and great clones? I don't think so. And once again, G68 is tempting him so much. You want to help the new republic. They just can't see it. Oh, my goodness gracious. She is tempting.
Oh, my gosh. Now, this is right here, Bubba, where it happens. She says, we can get you a mobile lab station. This is right around the time where he makes his major mistake by saying, who the F is we?
Nah, no reason to ask. No reason to ask at all. You know what? Why don't we do something that we don't do on this podcast too much, but we do a lot on other podcasts, our infamous reenactments. Catfish, why don't you tempt Matt into breaking the law and being evil and joining the Imperial remnant? What would you say?
Now, Matt, I want you to look at that snot-nosed kid over there. You see the one who's got the chocolate on his hands and he's rubbing it all over his mom's dress?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't you think this would be a better world if he was gone?
Oh, I think that I could cut a couple of those strands out and reclone him. He'd be a much better behaved kid.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying, though. So just take a couple strands out. We'll take him down. We agree on this.
Matt,
I'm there.
Joe Shirley wants you to kill that kid.
What I love was there is that Matt fully embraced the yes and, so it was not that difficult to get him to wipe out that kid.
Right. No, that poor chocolate-handed kid is long gone.
He gone.
G68 is playing Dr. Pershing like a sap. I mean, she is playing him like a sap. Mm-hmm. And he has started, you can tell, he's already kind of lying to his parole officer. Oh, my goodness. Great.
No, Bubba, listen to me. What is the point of this whole robot interrogation program if it can't figure out that he is lying. Like this should be the baseline. Like if someone responds like this, they're definitely 100% lying. Is he not checking for fluctuations in speech, breath, anything? What is he there for if he can't detect this is the kind of guy we're trying to catch?
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it right now. I'll be the parole officer, Catfish. You be Dr. Pershing.
Okay.
So, yes, Dr. Pershing, you were saying you want to do something?
Well, yes, I was for the Empire. Of course, I want to clone. I think this will be very, very helpful for the clone, for you guys. For you guys, I want to.
You
clone.
just said for the Empire. I may be the stupid.
I thought you guys were the new Empire. You guys are the new Empire, aren't you? Well, you're Empire-ish.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah,
the new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah,
pretty good.
Exactly. I was always been for good. I just want to do it for good.
Oh, really? Extra good. That's pretty. All right, sure. Let me stay. Wait, did you try to get a job this week? Okay, you're fine. Stamp.
I'm still destroying. Now listen.
Yeah.
I think there's some good code on here that I can save. Is it okay if I save the code? Just for the Empire, the new Empire, the Empire, the good guys.
I'm sorry, you can't save the code. I need to tape over some new episodes of Andor on those discs.
Oh, excellent. There's only episodes of the A-Team on there right now.
Right. We're going to delete those. Physical media, that's where it's at, as Bob Iger recently said. Okay, so...
Wow, I was so convincing in both my role plays.
Hey, let me be honest. Dr. Pershing, or maybe I should be correct, L52
do it.
and G68 are true scum. And you know why we know they're scum? They didn't pay for their subway token. Hashtag evil. And then even worse, as they try to blend in G68 with the classic Tongs days. Am I right? Oh, man. That is too modern a saying, Catfish. Too modern.
Well, but where do you think we got it from? Remember, Star Wars set in the past. We got it from them.
Oh, good point. Good work, G68. You really set it up. Matt, any thoughts on the performance of G68? We're going to find out her name in a bit, Elia Kane. But any thoughts on the performance of either of these actors, Dr. Pershing, L52, or Elia Kane, G68? Any thoughts on the performances, Matt?
Well, I mean, of the actors, I was drawn into the story. I had again, my rating went down for reasons that probably they shouldn't have gone down for. I thought that as far as creating intrigue, and a fairly predictable outcome, but nonetheless, just creating a lot of wonderful moments where you're questioning what the New Republic is doing, where you're questioning what Kane is, or pardon me, G68 or what L52 or what any of them are doing or thinking. I think that it was a magnificent performance from both of these actors, and the story and the direction. Everything was fantastic. I just a little thing get me down. That's all.
Well, I mean, I agree with what Matt's saying, and I was sad that we brought up Pershing again just to dispose of him in one episode.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true, but let's be honest. He is a true sap. He fell for this line when Elia Kane tells him, "Oh, these ships are inoperable. There's no need to guard them." I wrote in the show notes, that's not how this thing works. It's not like, this luxury yacht is not operable, so we just leave it here at the dock unguarded. Come on, this tank, it can't roll anywhere. Forget any missiles or
think about the coordination of this sting, Bubba. Think about the coordination. They have to make sure that all of the defenses that would normally be up or down, they have to make sure that guards are pulled off of duty. They have to make sure that all of this other stuff is done. And she's able to pass it off to our scientist here. Oh, this is the way it always is. I mean, if he's just truly that bright of a guy, you would think he would see through that.
I don't care whether he's bright or not. This is the biggest, brightest, flashy example of entrapment ever.
I'm with you.
Well, okay, it is entrapment. And sure enough,
I don't know if there's a but after that. It is entrapment, but...
Right, it's fun entrapment.
There's nothing wrong with a little light entrapment.
Comedy is tragedy from a distance. So because I'm not the one being trapped, I find it funny. In the trap really falls after she truly gets him to let his guard down. She's like, my name is not G68. I'm Elia Kane. I was a communications officer for Moff Gideon. Oh, well, my name's Penn Pershing, Dr. Penn Pershing, scientist. And so once she gets him to truly open up and lose any guard he might have had, because he has his, he's packed his case. Once he had his mobile lab, he's red-handed. He's literally red-handed when she drops the trap on him. I love it.
But, Bubba, why does she get to take it away from him and seemingly keep it if she's just reporting him?
She's trustworthy now.
No, she is. Yes, this is exactly right. What she has done is she's doing the classic, is it a double agent or a triple agent? She's made it seem like she's reformed. She tells the New Republic, I'll help you catch the Imperials who haven't reformed. But really all she did was she had Dr. Pershing show her, okay, what's important in a mobile lab? What's important for cloning in this place? And he pulls the things that are important. She's like, oh, okay, you're no longer useful to me. I can stay in my disguise of being a New Republic person and turn you in. I mean, she is totally working for the Imperial Remnant, and either Moff Gideon or the person Moff Gideon reports to, who has way more ships that can blow up Bo-Katan's house.
Bubba, I like this. I was still kind of searching for her end game here, and I think that's very sharp of you to pick up.
Well, is it a triple agent or a double agent? Because she was an Imperial. Now she's pretending to help the New Republic, but she's still really going to end up helping.
So she's just a double agent now.
No, that's weak. Be a trip. Come on, Miss Kane. One time, level. Catfish. She is a total snake. He gets hooked up to the mind flayer.
Okay, well, Bubba, it's like a mind flare. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's not. It's if you do it right. It's very refreshing experience.
Catfish, all you need to do is see that they have it set on 2, which means that there's an 11, so that gives every guitar player a chance to turn it up to 11. That machine should not have an 11 in the New Republic. 2 should be all the way up.
Well, I mean, there's that, and also you shouldn't just walk away and let the person.
Why are they even letting her in there?
I know it's a little baffling.
She is a snake, and I love it. I love it, man. She's going to fry his mind, and while she's doing it, she's going to eat a biscuit. # stone cold. You go, Miss Kane. Hell yeah.
But the worst part about her in this entire episode was that she lied. She does like the yellow biscuits.
Well, I mean, maybe there aren't any red ones left.
Either way, no, she's got to eat a yellow one because that is the ice cold thing to do. # ice cold. Elia Kane. Who needs Moff Gideon? You're just stone cold evil as it is. I love it. But hey, this episode is titled The Mandalorian, so we got to get back to Mando and Bo-Katan. We join them as they jump out of light speed, and Mando's like, okay, here's where we're going. It's our secret location. And I put in the notes, not really a secret anymore. It's a secret location that Bo-Katan now you can spoil to anybody.
And it's nice when they get out, Mando gets checked by the weightlifting cultist Mando, Paz Vizsla. He's like the bouncer outside of a bar. This guy who's had to have his helmet resized 3 times already as an adult due to the amount of steroids he's taking. And he's like, I have proof. And she's like, I have witnessed it. So they're like, all right, you can go in the bar.
Listen, I have proof. You see this bottle of Crystal Geyser? It comes from the living waters. Apparently, the living waters do have some properties that make them stand out. And the armor
that is
comes
good
up
to
and
know.
says, these are the living waters.
Yeah.
By the creed, you are redeemed. Catfish, we thought the whole season was going to be on one quest, Mando getting redeemed and getting to be officially a Mandalorian of the Creed again. Episode 3, it's done. Hey, you're good. Whoop-de-doo.
Boom, he's back. Bo-Katan's in now. It seems like, he also had proved something that last episode we thought could have been proved easily by any drone pilot at any time, was that they're lying about Mandalore. So maybe they will go back to Mandalore or try to get other Mandalorians back together and, start to build a party planet.
Catfish, Bo-Katan,
Yeah.
who has been brooding, has had a lot of issues. The one thing she hasn't been is she hasn't been one of these helmet on nuts. But she was brooding. She was miserable. Is acceptance by a cult, even if you know it's a cult, is that enough to turn you? Is that enough to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. Let's go.
I think it's enough in that she's seen things that she thought didn't happen, that weren't real, the mythosaur, and that maybe there is something to all this that she had been brought up with. And after all, she has been trying to reunite Mandalorians and wants to she does care about it in that way. So now she's got sort of a deeper connection to kind of what she wanted to do anyway. And so I think she's good for now. I think she's like, all right, I'll try this helmet on business for a while.
Yeah, and all she needs is a darksaber.
Yeah.
She'll be good.
Well, she needs a darksaber and she needs to tame the mythosaur. It's all coming together. Now, Grogu isn't wearing a helmet. How is Grogu able to stay in the clan of two, of the Mudhorn clan?
Yeah, his pod should be closed all times.
Well, do you think there's going to be a point where Grogu
that would be so great. Patman, this is what I'm going to say for Patman. Patman, I agree. Grogu helmet on as well. Everybody in helmets.
Matt, any idea where this story goes now? In some ways, it's the big issue has been resolved, right? Okay.
Yeah, what we thought was the big issue. There's still some standalone episodes coming, Bubba. We got to take on the pirates.
We do.
We might even restore IG-11 and see Grogu's little friends again. And we still, they dropped what the rest of the season is really big picture is going to be about. This episode, it's going to be about Moff Gideon or somebody higher than Moff Gideon. If an Imperial warlord it doesn't have that many ships, doesn't have that many ties, then maybe it's something that's bigger than Moff Gideon. But the internal struggle of picking apart the New Republic and also getting wherever we're getting with whoever the big bad is going to be for this season, which I suspect will be once again Moff Gideon.
Yay!
And I love Giancarlo. I'm just disappointed that we're not getting somebody else.
All right. Well, like the client.
Well, it'd be kind of hard to bring that was a thing, Catfish. I was like, oh, cool. When Kane and Pershing got together, I was like, we are finally going to get the client cloned.
Yes, brilliant. This is the whole reason behind Pershing. Is like, I served under this great man that I'm trying to mimic his accent. He must be recreated.
Exactly. Right. They have the clone of the client. Instead of say, I want to see the baby, he's like, give me a yellow biscuit.
All I need is a biscuit and a baby.
Hey, listeners, we've given you our thoughts on this episode. We're going to give you a lot more. We're going to nominate people for our categories and our games. But as we always say, we want to hear from you at DoublePHQ on Twitter, Instagram, Hive, Facebook.com/DoublePHQ. If you're on YouTube, we really want you to hit that like button and then go down in the comments and tell us what you think of this rather unique The Book of Dr. Pershing episode. Catfish, lead us to where we're going next.
All right, what we're going to do first is usually our most amazing thing, but I don't have much for it this week. It's our twadorable moment, because we all know that young Yoda is a tween, but now we call it the Grogurable moment. Grogurable moment. There it is. The cutest moment involving Grogu. I only had one this week, Bubba, and that was indeed Grogu putting the top up on the pram. Peace out, y'all. It's about to rain, and I ain't getting wet.
No, my Grogorable moment is that ridiculous meet cute between L52 and G68. She's thought, You know what? I don't like boys too smart. And so she got the man exactly the way she wanted him, a little dumb, a little mind flayed. That's my Gregorable moment.
It's no
Way to
Cyril
go,
and
Lion
Kendra,
King.
but it'll have to do.
Matt, do you have a Gregorable moment for this episode?
Well, I was going to say, until you guys told me that Grogu was sensing the Force, I was going to say him trying to say this is the way himself. Just that little gurgle in the way that they all looked back at him. But if you say he was sensing the Force, then I guess I'm out on that one. How about when he was just standing?
Maybe we're wrong. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, how about if he was just the moment right when Din first wakes up again, and he's just standing there right by his little helmet, and it almost seems like he smiles just a little bit as Din raises his head.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, that is our Gregorable moments of the episode. If you've got any of yours, share them with us. You might have something better. And then, of course, we have our Mandalicious line of the episode. And that is either a badass or funny line said mostly by Mando, but perhaps by other people. I only found some three tonight that were funny. The first one was Mando, the first line of the episode. I am redeemed. Is that mythosaur I'm tasting? And then, of course, our doctor's tongs days. Am I right?
Oh, he was terrible. He did need to work on that. Oh, boy.
And then our boy who's saying, this device is used to heal. I've been through the treat myself and found the experience quite refreshing. That's a funny line and also foreboding because we know, even though we haven't seen it yet, it is not going to be refreshing for our doctor.
Those are all pretty funny, and I did laugh at them. But I'm going to go, once again, who knew that I was such a fan of G68? I think she was so stone cold. She was stone cold, and she played this guy like a fiddle. And so when she said to him, like, hey, we got to go to my mobile lab, and we got to do these things. Wait, have you been outside you been in the restricted area? When she says to him, where do you think I got the biscuits? Ugh. He was putty in her hand, and she played with the putty. She was a putty player.
Oh, my God.
I've got one.
Let's hear it.
This one is relatively tropish, but when after they finish taking care of the TIE interceptors, Bo says to Din, nice shooting, not bad for an antique, about his ship.
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
I love that dig.
I love it. All right. So you can either pick one of those or submit one of your own for your Mandalicious line of the episode. And of course, next we have Grief's Beef, something we're upset about in the episode or something we're just like, what's going on? And my Grief's Beef for this episode is the whole robot interrogation project. I want the whole thing is scrapped. It's a boondoggle. Well, you know what? It doesn't need to be scrapped. All I need you to do is replace the subway robots with the interrogation robots. That's it. It's a simple switch. The subway robots should be more intimidating. I'm sorry, the interrogation robots should be more intimidating than the subway robots. Let's just switch them. Maybe we can root these sons of guns out before they escape their confines.
Oh, you are exactly right, Kavish. Sorry to jump in on you, but that the robots who want your damn subway ticket, they are the Terminator, man. They will not be stopped. I love it.
Yeah, that and we all agree they should be tougher than they shouldn't. The robots. The subway robots should not be tougher than the interrogation robots. I think we can all agree on that. Matt, what was your Grief's Beef for this episode? Something that you didn't like or you didn't dig. You can even say if you want again. Should I say it? I want to see the look on his face.
Yeah, show it.
Moff Gideon.
No! You know what? I'm not going to go with that because I think I've said that enough. I think I've given everybody a reason to say good grief about my Grief Beef as far as that goes. But I think the problem that I had, the thing that if I were the New Republic, I'd be very wary of, is calling a mind flare, a treatment that's good for you. Again,
it's like a mind flare. Again, Matt, like a mind flare.
It's like a mind flare, but nothing that is relaxing ever needs an 11. That's like it's like asking Jimmy Page just play on this little, studio amp.
Listen, it's not a lobotomy. It's like a lobotomy.
It's lobotomy light.
Right, come on.
Double L, lobotomy light.
Heck
All right,
yeah.
Bubba. Those were our grief beats. What about yours, Bubba?
This episode, once again, why didn't I go 10 out of 10 when I really did love it so much? There were just little moments where it's like they have to walk all the way to the ship and we have to do all this. Like literally, we can just, in modern editing, it's like, ooh, there's the ship. And then you can just cut to them sneaking into the ship. But no, we have to have these long walking scenes. And so this would be a 10 out of 10 episode for me. But there were little points where I thought the episode did just drag a bit, but I was totally engaged. So it's the most mini grief beef I have with a fun episode I love.
Well, so let's see if anybody agrees with ours, or maybe somebody has their own griefs beef. And then now we have our good grief. What one thing did you like about the episode, or something that happened in this episode that sort of brought you around to something cool about the Mandalorian as a whole? And I will start again, and I'll just say Bo-Katan's conversion. I thought between what happened last week, between her reading and we heard about her going there as a kid and the whole thing, and then going to Helmet on this week, I thought, this is a character that's changed a little bit, and I thought that was cool and believable, and I'm excited to see, because of what's happened in the last two episodes. The first time I saw her, I was like, I don't have any connection to the deeper things. I had no connection to Bo-Katan, and Bo-Katan meant nothing to me. So I'm now really interested in kind of her journey moving forward. And I thought they did a really good job in the last two episodes. So what about you guys? Who's got a good grief?
I want to say there were lots of little musical nuggets. It's true to form, and I'll go through some of them in the musical analysis, but just little things. The new Coruscant theme. There were many themes that are associated with Bo-Katan or the Mandalorian kind of lore, the Mandalore, so to speak, that I really enjoyed how they have been built up over the last 3 episodes. Some things that we'd heard since season 2. Joe Shirley's just knocking this stuff out of the park. He's better than that washed up guitar player.
Oh, man.
Oh, holy cow. That is brutal. Wow. Way to bring the hammer in the good grief section. Bubba, what about your good grief?
I love Coruscant. It's one of these things about sometimes you have Star Wars fans debate, well, which Star Wars planet would you actually like to visit? And a lot of people say, oh, I'd love Tatooine. I love the warm desert. Or some people might say, ooh, I want to visit Naboo, the planet from the Phantom Menace, which is all grass and waterfalls and the planet's core. I'm a city kid. I've lived in very small towns in my life, but I just mentioned I lived in Chicago right after college. And so I love I'm a city kid. And I love big cities, and I love that this Western finally went to the center of the galaxy, Coruscant. And so that was my good grief for episode 3.
Love it. If you guys have a good grief of your own to share, please share it with us.
At PHQ on Twitter, or you can send emails to hello@doublepmedia.com. You can also find all of the socials at the word double, the letters PHQ.
Heck yeah. All right, guys, let's go into the Bounty Hunter Guild. Grief Karga has, made our guild now a school, but screw that. Like those pirates, we're going to go in there. We're going to battle over the puck for a Bounty Hunter Guild battle. Let's go big picture for a bit. This episode opened with a wonderful little space battle and a spaceship battle in space and in land between Bo-Katan, Din Djarin, and these TIE fighters. So big picture, what is the best space battle we've ever seen in a Star Wars movie? We have a bunch of them, that's for sure. We have the Death Star trench in A New Hope. We have the asteroid chase with the Millennium Falcon in Empire Strikes Back. We have the incredible space battle at the end of Return of the Jedi. I mean, these are just a few I'm going to name. Even on this show, we've seen a bunch of fun space battles where Din in the Razor Crest had to avoid the X-Wings who were chasing him, and he flew into the ice planet. The best space battle in Star Wars. I'll give you guys a minute to think about it, but we're going to enter in and go for the puck. I'm going to go with my first thought on this.
Bubba.
I think a lot of people love the opening of Revenge of the Sith because Lucas thought that was going to be the last Star Wars movie he was ever going to make and that would ever be made. And he threw everything into it, including, if you pause your DVR or the stream real closely, you can see a kitchen sink literally flying through space and smashing into a spaceship. But because of my age and because how old I was when I saw it, the asteroid chase in Empire Strikes Back will always still be number one for me, even though Attack of the Clones, there was another asteroid chase between Jango Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Even though in Solo, a Star Wars story, they were doing the Kessel Run and flying through all that debris and stuff. Heck, I think the Millennium Falcon escape from Jakku at the beginning of The Force Awakens is a real fun one. But I have to go with my first space battle love, and it was the asteroid chase in Empire Strikes Back. What really makes that chase is, believe it or not, C-3PO. The fact that he constantly keeps telling us, oh, the stats of surviving an asteroid field are, he's setting the stakes. He's showing the danger in a robot which doesn't have emotion. And it allows Han Solo to become even braver when we know the danger they're facing. So for me, the best space battle, and it's not much of a battle, it's more like a runaway from TIE fighters, is the Empire Strikes Back asteroid chase. That's my pick. Matt, you're up next. What is the best space battle in Star Wars?
Again, probably I was 7 when A New Hope, at that time just called Star Wars, came out. And I think that the Battle of Yavin over the Death Star, and the fact that I can count backwards from 5 to 1 3 times faster than the guy who was counting down shooting Yavin. The moon
Yavin will be in range in 5. Let me take my smoke break.
Stand by. I mean, stand by, Bubba. Don't stand by. Don't shoot yet. Stand by. I still think that one was really important to me because Han Solo came in and saved the day. It was the first time that you really established him as a hero. He was always kind of like the anti-hero up to that point. It all just, and I was 7 years old, and I'd never seen something that lasted on my screen more than 5 seconds that was in space, and I was just so excited by it. I don't think anything will match that intensity for me throughout my whole life.
Catfish, do you have one? What's the best space battle we've had?
This is tough because I'm an oldie like you guys. So for me, it's shaking my head, and since I don't have a good memory, I just always remember in the first one where, Han is sending Luke up to do some shooting in the other pod. Is that the asteroid one you're talking about?
No, you mean escaping the Death Star, where they were both on guns, Han and Luke. Yeah. That is a good one. That is like the first one. That was so good.
There's just something about that was just so joyous and amazing, and it just stays in my head. There was so much tension in it. It was just incredible.
Right, and then after it's over, Princess Leia, just totally shoots him down. Oh, they let us escape.
That was too easy, by golly.
Right, easy. Hey, listeners, we're old schoolers, so we went with those. But there have been a bunch. We certainly haven't even mentioned them all. There have been a bunch. What has been your favorite space battle in any Star Wars property? And, what's funny is we're leaving out, Andor didn't have too much, but the ridiculous lasers on the side of Luthen's ship were also pretty fun. But let us know. Tell us your favorite space battle and see if you can win the puck. Matt, why don't you tell everybody what's next on the podcast?
Hey, for once, I get to introduce my own Quintuple M.
Wait, Quintuple M?
Yeah, that's Matt Murdock's Mandalorian musical analysis, as Catfish likes to call it.
Yes.
And this time around, we're looking at the way that we turned the March of the Resistance into a carnival theme, and a couple of great themes for Bo-Katan and the Mandalore myth. Hello once again, talking about the music of this particular episode by Joe Shirley, using themes composed by Ludwig. First of all, just the Kane and Pershing thing. There was something very funny to me that happened during them going out and seeing the sights together. And that was the use of John Williams's March of the Resistance being kind of the theme that you hear in the background as they're looking at Unate the mountain. Just to remind you what that theme normally sounds like, it normally sounds like this. But Joe Shirley did something really sneaky here. He almost turned it into like a circus theme, because it's like this place for attractions and bazaars and all of that kind of thing. And he gave it an oompa kind of rhythm underneath it, used a timbre that sounded kind of like a calliope, kind of like an organ, like you associate with those kinds of fairs and that kind of thing. And he changed it to major. And it just kind of looms in the background during that whole sequence where Kane is taking Pershing around to see the sights. It ends up sounding like this. The big difference is he changed some of the melody notes from what their minor key would normally be to a major key, which makes it happier, lighter, and I just found it really funny. The main thing I want to talk about today is two themes that we've now had associated with Bo-Katan. One is mainly for her. One is more about the mythology of Mandalore itself. First, when you think back to when we first saw Bo-Katan in Chapter 11, I believe it was, when Bo comes and saves Mando and the child on the boat, we got this theme right away. Now, it didn't really appear too much in Season 2 after that, on any time of Bo appearing, but it has appeared a lot in Season 3. In Chapter 18, when Bo was fighting the entity that had captured Din, you hear it then. And at the end of the sequence where Bo and Din are talking as they're walking through that great destroyed city landscape, and she says, "There, the entrance to the mines of Mandalore," we hear that theme there as well. And in Chapter 18, we also heard it before that, but there was a slight variation. One of the notes was dropped down a half step to add kind of a melancholy to it, and that was as Bo was first arriving on Mandalore and seeing the destruction. In this particular episode, we heard it being developed through a couple of different keys when Bo was going after the ties that had bombed her home. So that theme seemed particularly geared at Bo herself. But another one that we've heard associated with her and with the larger mythology of Mandalore is this motif. Now, we heard this at the end of Chapter 17 as Din was walking away from Bo after they'd had the conversation about whether Mandalore was worth anything anymore or not. Then in Chapter 18, we hear, during the wide shot, before Bo and Din start talking about the past of Mandalore, they're kind of walking through the destroyed city. Right at the beginning of that sequence, we hear this. We hear this theme being developed a little bit as Bo is diving down to save Din after, he drops off the shelf and sinks like a knucklehead. And there's this really nice dissonant chord placed at the end of it so that it sounds like this. And then in Chapter 19, we hear it as Bo is taking one last look at the living waters and asking if Din saw anything down there. We hear a really triumphant version of it as Bo defeats that last tie and then pulls out and gets the ship going again when it's falling. And then finally, at the end of Chapter 19, we hear it as Bo is welcomed into the clan. And this is a really nice version, a slow version with the full chords present, because a lot of times there's just been a pedal tone in it or the chords haven't been the same. But this is where the true theme comes to fruition. It's almost like a completion for Bo. I love this redemption story for Bo. And because the different harmonies are added there, you actually get a modulation to the major key, not unlike what we heard with Din last week. With the Mando theme resolving to a major, you hear one major chord in here that makes everything feel okay before it starts to circle around to play again. That sounds like this. And I would suspect that we're going to hear a lot of the Mandalore theme, not the Mandalorian theme, but the Mandalore theme as the season goes on. And if they get into any scraps, I imagine we'll hear Bo's theme as well.
Wow. Now, normally when we play Matt's audio segment, I have to pretend that it was brilliant. But now that Matt's here, I'm like, yeah, that was fine.
No, but there's so many things I just didn't notice, and the reveal of the kind of the calliopeing of the March of the Resistance theme. That was just really cool, and I can't wait to when I go back and watch it again to listen for that. That was very cool, and that's why you are value added, Matt. That's why you get twice as much for this podcast as I do.
Man,
yes, I
ridiculous.
Do. I do.
You do. I mean, it's, even someone could say 10 times, 100 times.
Last time I checked, it was 50 times.
50 times. Yeah, right.
That won't be edited out at all. We love to say, who cares what we think? We want to know what you think. And we've got some great feedback on episode 3, as well as last week's episode 2. So, Catfish, why don't you read our first bit of feedback on episode 3, The Convert?
Oh, yeah. All right. The first feedback we got is from Ventura at @sweet_tortilla. They said, I'm really enjoying the Dr. Pershing show this week. There we go. And they said it. I mean, I'll read it the way I would say it and the way I meant. I really enjoyed the Dr. Pershing show this week, but they could also be saying it in the way that we usually mean things, which is, yeah, I really enjoyed the Dr. Pershing show this week on The Mandalorian.
Either way, Levi, we love that feedback. We love that feedback, Levi. Thank you so much. Double M, what did our wonderful loyal listener Camille say?
Yes, thank you, Camille, for sending stuff in on Twitter at Harley Camille on Twitter, and be sure you to tweet in your feedback by tweeting to @PHQ. Camille says 10 out of 10 double Fs.
Double Fs?
Yeah, freaky flares. That mind zapper was frightening. I kept thinking of the mind flare on Stranger Things. What is up with Elia Kane? I can't figure out her in game. She's got to be working for Moff Gideon and Bo-Katan. Please don't join the cult. Maybe 9 out of 10. Maybe 9 out of 10 due to the lack of bad baby.
Ooh, well.
Oh, I love it. Now, see, this is my question too, Bubba. What's Elia Kane's end game? But I bought your answer that she's using it to get some cred so that she can actually do her own damage.
Yeah, she's got to do her own damage. She's still working for Gideon, or she's working to get him out of whatever situation he's in. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's what I totally think. If you have that feedback on episode 3, like Matt said, please send it in. But we also got this great feedback on episode 2. Priscilla TV, a great YouTuber. So if you're interested in fun YouTube content, a bit of the Aftershow stuff that we do, be sure to check out Priscilla TV on YouTube. She wrote, now Catfish, you mentioned last week that at times in last week's episode there was not enough cuteness. Priscilla said, not enough cuteness. Well, that's a reason for me to continue to not watch The Mandalorian. She demands exactly the right amount of cuteness. Oh, Priscilla, we're trying. The show is trying.
All right. Well, somebody who always gets the right amount of cuteness is our good old friend and Matt's nemesis at Patman23, Pat Spinagle, who says, it was great hearing the two of you talking about Mando Season 3, Episode 2. Congratulations are in order to Catfish for being in close proximity to Pedro Pascal, but I fear that this destroys any objectivity he might have once had in the helmet on, helmet off debate. Oh, hell yes. He has been compromised by seeing so close to that handsome man. Well, yeah, that's my point. He's handsome. Let's see it. Regardless, the defining feature of Mandalorians, even the liberal ones who are like a little helmet off time, are those badass helmets. Helmet on and pressurized if one is about to step in an underwater chasm. As always, short, sweet, and witty feedback by Pat Mantle.
I noticed that my nemesis did not mention any of the musical analysis from last week.
Oh, very good work, Batman.
No, he's been avoiding it. He's trying to keep a truce without saying what he really feels about it.
Well, I was going to say Batman must be drinking when he thought Catfish had any objectivity. For everybody
I
here.
believe I made it clear when I said he was a snack. My objectivity was gone.
For everybody here at the Parsec Passion Podcast, my name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
You can hit me up at CJGman67. That's catfish. You want to hit up a catfish? CJGman67 on Twitter.
And you can find me on Twitter at Musical Concepts.
Beautiful. And you will hear from at least two of the three of us next week on
Parsec Passion. I'm a clone. I want to see the biscuit.
I've also cloned Timothy and the bear. Let's see who wins this time.
Oi, get the feedback out of the monitors and turn that thing up to 11. Oh, you okay?
Oh,
He gone.
he gone.